when anywhere from 47 to 51% of the nation doesn't pay income taxes, and approximately 35% of the nation receives government benefits. I'm not talking about people getting Medicare or Social Security, which they paid into, but other benefits from the government. How are you going to reverse the tide of people electing whoever will promise them more goodies?
Well, that's what this whole election's about right now. I mean, if you watch what Obama's doing, and you know what, it's not my, I talked about the difference between being and horse, but let's talk about from the scope. And I think Senator Rubio said it best. This is an election about Romney and Obama. It's really an election between two different political philosophies. You have one that believes one thing, one that believes the other, and the one currently in office believes in class warfare of age, sex, income, and race. And he wants to divide the country enough. And he wants it to promise enough people, 51% of them, that they'll get some type of benefits as long as they vote for their party. And we are at a point in our country that if it's not already passed there, that more people are getting those type of benefits that are going to vote to keep them in office. And if they do, then our country's gone. And this is why it's such a pivotal time in this election. Either we're going to stop the trend right now and get back to what's made our country great. And you know, let me give you an example of something that it just blows me away. I mentioned this at this HIP interview, and nobody even talked about why this was so outrageous. This was a Hispanic in politics, very left-leaning group. And I go to everywhere and talk. I don't back down from, only coming to Republican events. My opponent will not come to everybody. In fact, why don't you guys invite him to this meeting and see if he'll show up? I really think you should, because I've gone to all of his. HIP is
I like him up there.
What's that?
I like him up there.
Yeah, I'd like to see him answer questions, but I went to the tough ones in this one. But how about this? We have an onion farmer in Yerington. I just mentioned Yerington has an 18% unemployment rate. It's third worst in the country for the counties. And this guy, under federal law, he has to pay an American worker the same thing he'd have to pay a worker that comes in under one of the work programs, and that's $11.85 an hour. And he says he can't find enough American workers to work the farm, but he has to go. And you know what you do when under the current INS laws is not only do you have to pay the guy $11.85 an hour, you have to pay for the transportation, you have to pay for their housing, and pay for the transportation back. They tried to even argue that they had to pay for their permits to get in the country, and they fought that and won that. But Obama's administration tried to fight against it and make them pay for it. But imagine that you have people that are 18% unemployed, and they won't take a job at $12 an hour. My mother worked in a farm in Kerman, California, outside of Fresno. When she was a little young girl, before their teens, to the time she was in college, picking cotton, picking grapes, she didn't feel that was a job that wasn't worth the price they were paying her. Governor Gwynn, who was the governor of our state, worked in Exeter, and he picked cotton when he was younger. And our country was made upon people like that who turned out to be great, successful people. My mother's a city councilwoman in Las Vegas. Those jobs weren't beneath them, and they were able to do it, but we can't get people to do it now. There's a serious problem with where our country's headed.
Did you know that you do not need to show any visible piece of identification and proof of citizenship in order to register in the state of Nevada? All you need to have is a power bill or a light bill with your name on it, and they will register you. And you swear that you are a citizen. You don't have to prove it.
Yes,
you never have to get it.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right.
That's got to stop.
You're absolutely right. That's what I mentioned to the gentleman back there. I was, in 2006, one of the first in the state, at least, to propose having to show proof of citizenship when you register, go on a photo ID. It goes a lot more. I mean, you hear the Democrat side or the left side say, hey, you're going to disenfranchise voters because they don't have all these documents. In the Carter-Baker proposal, they make provisions that the government would pay the cost to make these things available to anyone who didn't have it. So you took away the argument that someone was indigent and couldn't afford it. The Carter-Baker proposal was a great piece of policy that covered all of the bases, so nobody could argue against it, but you still hear those same arguments being made, and it's only, why it's being made. Hey, how about now, you can register online right now to vote. In Nevada, in every county but 2, you can register online.
To receive your driver's license in the state of Nevada, because I just went through this, and I don't have it yet, because I have to provide, since I was had a name way back when I was born in 1946, my birth certificate, then my marriage license to show my name change to get a driver's license.
And then your divorce.
It wasn't divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go through all this stuff, and yet to register to vote, there's nothing, so something's really askew.
Very
You
good.
know.
Yeah, there is.
It's not just here in Nevada, they find this everywhere. They passed this bill, the photo ID and proof of citizenship in about 6, 7 states. And they challenged it in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld it. And now the Department of Justice is challenging other states, even though the one was approved. It's really crazy. Go ahead.
You know, you probably won't have much influence on in the House, but it's something a lot of people don't know and it's not being made known. You have 4 or 5 Supreme Court justices that are going to reach 84 and 86 years old in this administration. And whoever's in there gets to pick the successor.
Yeah,
And like the guy said, can you imagine Eric Holder as a Supreme Court justice?
Well, you know, and that's certainly true, and that's something that, that's another reason why this election is so important. But, you know, there's so many reasons for it, but that's one. I want to digest, if you don't mind, for a second away from that. Look what they do when a law is declared unconstitutional, or when they get a contempt charge against somebody, or if they don't like that Congress won't pass anything. He just implements it under executive order, or has his administrative agencies who do it anyways. This is the closest we have ever had a country where this president just runs it unilaterally, away from our checks and balances that have made our country
It's
so
called a
good.
dictatorship.
We get rid of this law.
His days,
Yeah.
2% of his days, I'm running the country, the rest is.
And that's something too, but to me, the most offensive thing is, I'm sitting here now watching this, you know, they're talking about robbing his tax returns. First of all, Reed hasn't turned over his tax returns, they're talking about robbing it, right? So then you have a guy, Eric Holder, Eric Holder's an AG, right?
Yeah.
Eric Holder, who won't turn over documents to Congress, or hold him in contempt, and the Justice Department won't do anything to him, right?
And the Treasury guy used Quicken to file his returns, or whoever it was, and screwed it up.
Yeah, but I'm talking about how they just ignore their constitutional duties. And it is so offensive to what has made our country so great. I mean, it's really a dangerous time right now, but, you know, that's why it's important to get Romney elected, it really is.
Is there some way we can get this executive order deal, put some goddamn teeth into it so that if he does have to say, you're gonna do it under executive order, but you better have a damn good reason for doing it, or Congress is gonna come back and send you to prison for doing it.
Well, you know, there are guidelines under the executive order, but it doesn't mean that means Obama won't say it's an executive order. He does, and then you've got to have Congress to challenge it, and you've got to have it here, you know, it goes up to the Supreme Court. That's what, you know, Richard Nixon said his tapes were under privilege under executive order, the Supreme Court ruled against him, and that's how it happened to him. So there are guidelines that are supposed to be followed if you have a Congress that will challenge him, and then it goes up to the Supreme
There's
Court.
some teeth in it that they can make him think twice before he does it.
There's teeth in him, you gotta challenge him on it. I don't think he cares. I don't think he believes that there will be enough support or guts in Congress to make the move on. And it very well may not be, because, I mean, what do you need to have in Congress to even challenge that? You know, he still controls the majority of the Senate, so he's not gonna get past the Senate. Yes.
What is your opinion of the Supreme Court decision on healthcare?
I mean, I did agree with it. I don't think it was the right decision. I hear the reasoning why Justice Roberts supposedly made this decision, that it'll bring it back to the public domain to vote Obama out of office, if that's the reason why. But look, Justice Roberts created a tax in a bill that the people who proposed and passed the bill said it was not a tax. So I don't see how you can take it to the next step. I had not heard Justice Scalia speak before, but he was on one of the talk shows on Sunday morning. I listened to him talk.
Chris Roberts, yeah, Chris Wallace.
Boy, he was good how he articulated that, and I was very impressed with him. And he articulated better than I ever could.
And he's one of those people that are in that 80, 84 bracket. I mean,
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.